Hello, everybody. Welcome to the AttractWell Weekly Office Hours. Today we are joined by Colin and Julie. I don't think you guys have been on this call before, so just thought I would let you guys say hello and kind of introduce yourselves so people will be able to recognize you now. And then today we do have a special guest, but before we do, if you guys want to hop in the comments and let us know where you're coming in from. And then also, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them into the Q&A and we will be answering those throughout the call. And if there are extra questions, we will even answer them at the end of the call. And so without further ado, we would like to welcome back Tiffany Armstrong to our call today. Tiffany?
Thank you so much for having me back. And what we're going to dig into today is all things automation. And so we have so many things in our businesses that we are doing manually, that we have software at the tip of our fingers that we could use. A lot of it's free, and where we could use to automate ourselves and streamline our businesses. So it frees us up to spend time doing what matters most, which is, first of all, connecting to your clients, patients, whoever your audience is, as well as focusing on the income producing activities, the things that actually matter in your business. So many times we are doing things that just are being busy, but I always say being busy with the wrong things, the things that don't move the needles in our business. So we are going to go over some software today about exactly how to pair them with AttractWell and have your business streamlining more smoothly, freeing up time for you. And so you could not only make more money, but really connect more deeply with your people, right? That's what the whole thing is about. That's why we get into business in the first place, is not to be a hermit behind closed doors. We want to be able to be connecting and drawing people into our audience. So I am going to share my screen. And if you know me at all, I always start with a mindset piece, because our businesses, the success of our businesses, 80% of it falls on the psychology of the business owner. And so I just always like to take 5 minutes at the top of a business training and just make mention of a quick little piece that may be coming into our practice, our business practices, and having us sabotage our businesses. So first, I just want to introduce myself really quickly. I'm Tiffany Armstrong, and I own 3 different international businesses. I used to work 120 hours a week with one business, and now I work less than half of that with 3 businesses. And all that came to be because I understood and learned how to streamline and automate my business. So many of my business practices are automated, and then I just get to show up and be my best self. So that is the beauty of it. So first, let's just get into some mindset pieces. I'm going to actually open up. If there's Amanda, if there's anybody asking questions, feel free to pause me in the middle of stuff and I will definitely answer the questions. Okay. So, oh, Vermont, California, Michigan, beautiful. I'm in Arizona. So food and mood. Let's just talk about this for just a quick second, because there are so many little sneaky ways our brain finds to start sabotaging ourselves. And there's so many different reasons for us to sabotage ourselves. Sometimes maybe we have a fear around success or a fear of rejection. And so instead of facing those fears and growing money, because that creates a fear for us, sometimes we will do sneaky little things to avoid success and we don't even realize it. I did a lot of this back in the day. And one of the things I would do, I had a fear around, I grew up with the money story in a basic general term, big picture. I grew up with the money story that people who made a lot of money were jerks. People didn't like them. I grew up with somebody in my household who did not have a lot of money. And so that was the money story I was told over and over again. So my beliefs around money is, if I make a lot of it, people aren't going to like me. They're going to judge me and think I'm a jerk. That's legitimately what I thought. And I was such a people pleaser back then that was like, oh my gosh, I can't have anybody not liking me, you know. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And so with that, one of the ways I would sabotage, all of a sudden my income would start to go up, and all of a sudden it would trigger me, and it was so subconscious for me, but it would trigger me to start going and eating horrible. All of a sudden I would start downing fast food and just a whole bunch of sugar and just things like that I wouldn't normally be eating on a regular basis. And suddenly I would have a headache. I wouldn't feel good. I would get sick, all this kind of stuff. And then I would convince myself, oh, I was just sick. But really and truly, it started with me having a fear around money. I would pile drive a whole Whopper in my mouth. And then I would start feeling horrible. And my business suffered badly because of it. I have a failed business in the past, and that was one of my sabotaging behaviors that caused that. And so I learned some lessons from that. But I just want to point out, and this is really quick, I'll spend 5 minutes or less on this, but a lot of times we are putting food in our bodies that are causing brain fog and causing a lack of productivity and causing us to not show up our best with our clients, or when we have to get something done, our productivity just hits the ground, right? And so I'm just going to tell you 2 really quick, super simple stories, but I was working productive as all get out, very clear-minded, banging through stuff. It was about 9 or 10 in the morning. And yes, I eat candy in the morning, apparently. My boyfriend had brought me home some hot tamales of little red candies the night before, and apparently cinnamon and red dye, that is like an arch nemesis of mine, apparently, and I didn't know it at the time. So I'm sitting here eating this box of tamales, being so productive, and within about 30 minutes of eating those, I started to feel brain foggy, where I just started to kind of stare at my computer, and something that should have taken me 10 minutes was taking me an hour all of a sudden because my brain had slowed down. And then I got cranky and I started being a jerk to my boyfriend back then. I'm a full transparent book that I am a human living a human experience, and the food was shifting my mood, and it caused a problem in my relationship. It sabotaged the entire rest of the day with my business because I was so brain foggy. I just could not get myself to work. And then I ended up getting a migraine from it. So that was one piece. Another weird thing is I went out for Chinese food one time with some friends, no alcohol involved. I got home, and for whatever reason, it shifted my brain chemistry and shoved me into a very depressive day, like completely apathetic. And it took me out for about 2 or 3 days from my work. And that's not how I want to be showing up for work, right? And I was not sure what caused that. And so I got to thinking, after I kind of came back to, I got to thinking, what the heck? Like, why did I just suddenly, nothing was wrong. I didn't have anything trigger that. I wasn't in a bad mood. Nobody said anything horrible to me. So I was like, what shifted me into an actual depression out of nowhere? And it was short-lived, but it was there. And so I treat myself as a science experiment. I went back to that same Chinese food place, ordered the same exact thing the next weekend, knowing I didn't have anything going on for a couple of days. And sure enough, it did the exact same thing. Knowing that it might, it still happened, and I had a hard time with it. And so there are just certain foods that work with each of our individual bodies that will completely tank us, whether it's mood shifts, whether it's productivity, all that kind of stuff. So I just encourage you to, as entrepreneurs, put your research finders on and just do a little food journaling if that feels right to you, where you're actually paying attention to what are these foods doing in your life and how are they affecting you. And over the years, I don't put any of that in my body. And am I a perfect eater? No. But the kind of junk food I choose to eat, it has nothing to do with anything that's going to change my brain chemistry or shift my energy. Does that make sense? So just some food for thought, pun intended. But just something to keep yourself afloat and keeping that productivity. And especially when you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel on today. I feel energized. I feel focused. I can give the presentation of a lifetime or stick with a whole day of clients and end with energy. Think also about what kind of foods you were putting in your body that time and to eat more of those. So it's just a little fun, something to consider when you're being an entrepreneur, because there's so much that affects us. Okay, so I'm going to get into the automation toolbox. Camilla, I love that. Yep, she has focused on that with her family, and it is a huge difference, right? Some of us just have reactions to certain foods, and some of them are subtle and some of them are very blatant. Like the Chinese food, never touched it again because I was like, no, thank you. That does not work for me in my life, right? I don't want to be moody and I don't want to be non-productive. So with the automation toolbox, I'm going to show you several pieces of software. Most of them are free or very low cost. And it's just clever ways to build automation around your business. And I'm going to teach you several pieces of software. Take what works for you, leave the rest, right? Some of this, you might already have a system in place. You don't need to shift systems just because, I'm talking about it. Stick with your system that works for you. And just know that maybe some of these can just be paired with that system, okay? So take these concepts and apply it to whatever you already have. Like, for example, I'm going to talk about a system called Calendly, which is an automated calendar link so people can book on your schedule. Some people will use a QD, some people will use Schedule Once. Whatever you're using is wonderful. I'm just talking about this just to get the thought in your mind. So this is more big picture, okay? Last thing is I'm going to give you a very big picture overview of each of these. I'm not going to go super deep into how to set each of these up, although I will open them and show them to you. But just know I created a very simple landing page for you. So I'm just going to show that to you so you can see the tutorials. So if you scroll down, under week 7 is where I do this. I do a business revamp. So this is just kind of where this is housed. So you will get access to these slides. Okay. So just so you know, I know you'll be taking notes and taking a lot in. But if you want to access my slides again, you just go to this landing page. It's tiffanycoaching.net/automation. Okay. And we can put that in the link in the chat. So you'll have access to the slides, and then every tool that I'm going to go over here, I also have a little tutorial about how to use them. Okay, so I'm not going to get super deep into how to use them. Today is meant to be more of a big picture introduction and getting your creative juices flowing of, I'm doing this, and this manually. Can I actually bring this software in and automate my business more and free up time, right? And the whole purpose for freeing up time is we get to connect more deeply with people because we're not sitting here doing all these manual tasks. We get to actually spend face-to-face time with people, with our coaching clients, with our patients, whoever your audience is. Also, if you happen to be in the direct sales industry, just think about this. If you are constantly scattered and just doing all this hard work and working early to very late, taking phone calls at 10 p.m., all this kind of stuff, is that going to look duplicatable to your downline? Absolutely not. But if you are streamlined and automated with your systems and everything is as automated as it can be, and then your team sees you using that automation, is that going to look duplicatable? Absolutely, yes. So we want you and that goes for direct sales, but it also goes for your team members in your business as well, right? Also, it frees up time for us to focus on income producing activities because that's where we want to spend our time. One of the things I say all the time is that people are busy, and this was me, people are busy, but they're busy with the wrong things. They're not busy with the right things that actually move the needle of the business, right? And so we need to just be focusing on what are those tasks that I really, if I do, it makes a difference in my business. And then everything else, can we automate anything in that whole other clutter of tasks, right? And that's exactly what this is going to be about. So thank you for the heart, Patty Lee. She's sending that to you, Jules. So also you'll be more productive, that's very clear. And then it just helps you dial in your weekly or daily work strategy, like what you need to be focusing on and when, right? And then it's kind of like hiring an assistant. I used to work one business, I might have already mentioned this, but I used to work one business 120 hours a week. And now I own 3 businesses. They've gone international and I work fewer hours than I ever have. And I still work 50 hours. I work about 50 hours a week, but to go from 120 hours a week to 50, it is like a breath of fresh air for me. So it is as if I hired an assistant, but it's just this super inexpensive software. Some of it's free and it just has me so dialed in. And that's where we want to get you. This is coming from me, but it's also coming from the AttractWell team because they are my tech people. I lean on Julie and Colin all the time where I'm like, okay, can I dial this in anymore? And all this kind of stuff. So I call them and get on calls with them. So just so you know, I'm presenting this, but they are also amazing. If you're having any problems making your landing pages or getting something to automate in your AttractWell system, call on them. That's what they're there for, okay? Because you want to be able to use the AttractWell system in the most streamlined way possible, and it is so perfect. I've moved all 3 of my businesses over to it because it's the best system I've ever found, and they did not pay me to say that. So first of all, here are the tools that I'm going to be getting into today. So obviously we're going to be talking about AttractWell. The team is great. I will be contacting you, Colin. I love that. Come here, like that. Very nice. So AttractWell is my main hub. This is where I function from everything. Okay, this is my, I'm going to get into it, but my contact manager. This is how I bulk email, bulk text. I create my landing pages. I do, like if I have a lead magnet and I want somebody to opt into it, then I do all of that within AttractWell. And then I use these other tools as a support tools to help streamline that. And I'm going to show you some examples of exactly how I do it. But I use Trello. And again, if you already have some systems that you use, just know that this is kind of using these ideas of, okay, the concepts. So Trello is something I use. I'm going to explain exactly what I use that for. but that it would be like to visually map out an online course that I'm going to put into AttractWell, those kinds of things. Okay, so I'll talk to you about that. Loom is how you record your screen. Just with the click of a button, you can record your screen, be speaking, and show a tutorial. This is how I've recorded a lot of my online courses that way. And also I use that to, if one of my clients says, hey, I'm really having a hard time figuring out how to do this, can you show it to me? I record a really quick Loom and I send them the link and they have the visual of me showing it to them. Okay, so I'm going to get more detailed about that. Calendly is a calendar system where people can, you just send somebody a link and, or maybe a button on AttractWell, and they can just go and hop right on your calendar and you set up an automatic Zoom call. Okay, so I'm going to get all detailed about this. Google Drive is where I organize all my files. Okay, so I create documents, I organize my files, and I also create questionnaires. And I'm going to talk to you about the power of that and emailing that out through AttractWell. Okay, so don't worry about all those details I just shared because I'm about to show you a lot more detail. I just wanted to give you that big picture, and then how it all fits together is coming next. Okay, so like I said, for AttractWell, I use it for contact management. I use it for my to-do list, so I can you can do some different to-do lists, especially for contacts. So let's say somebody's a contact in your AttractWell system, and I know I want to follow up with them in 6 months. You can set a little trigger in their system, in their contact, to trigger you to follow up, and then you can do a bulk email to any of those follow-up people. It's just the best system I've ever found for everything. And I'm just going to say a side note, and I'm not joking. They do not pay me to say this. This is just me speaking from my heart. My other businesses that I have pulled into AttractWell, what I used to have is I used to have ClickFunnels for my funnels, my sales funnels. I had my online courses housed in a different system, Thinkific. And then I had ActiveCampaign for my emails. I had my website housed somewhere else. And then I had to connect them all through, it's called a bridge, where you actually bridge them together. So if they bought something from my ClickFunnels, it automatically sent an email from a different system, and it also added them to my online course. It was a nightmare because, first of all, I was paying $1,200 a month, which makes me want to vomit because I did that for years. And secondly, something was always broken in the chain for digitally speaking, like some software was down for the day and then everything else was affected. And that's why I pulled everything into AttractWell, because it's everything in one, and plus it's a CRM on top of it. Plus you can do events, all the things, right? Plus it houses the online courses. So I'm going to teach you exactly how I use all of that as we go with these other pieces of software. Okay, so I'm just saying that because you're in the right place with AttractWell, and that's all I have to say. It's the best system, and there's never a glitch in it that I've ever come into. So Trello is like an online. Some people use it for task management, but that's already within AttractWell, so that's where I use it. It's just already integrated, so I love that piece. So what I use Trello for is, and I'm going to show you a visual of this in a second, but I use that to map out my courses that I'm going to put into Trello. So let's just say I want to create an online course and I want to talk about these 3 big topics. And within each topic has maybe 5 videos or 10 videos. So I'll write my topic, and then at each little chunk, I say, okay, I'm going to say, do a video on this, then I'm going to do a video on this, then I'm going to do a video on this, and then I want to include this worksheet and do that kind of stuff. So I get to visually map out my courses, and then I go record the courses with Loom. I'll tell you all this again. I'm letting you drink from a fire hose at the moment, but I'm going to pull it all together for you, I promise. But I record the course and then I go put it into AttractWell. So that's how I use Trello as kind of a big brainstorming platform for me. I also plan my social media on Trello, where I organize my social media posts, and I'm going to show you what I do with that, and then I go post them. And then also you can coordinate with teams. So like if you actually have a team, like if you hire a virtual assistant, for example, you can have a virtual assistant board, and you can see exactly what you're working on, what they're working on. You can communicate through the board, and that's actually a really nice way to use Trello. Okay. Next is Loom. I already mentioned this, but this is to record your screen while you're talking. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'm going to show you that live and how it all works. Okay. Then Calendly, we already talked about it. That's your automated calendar system. Again, some people use Acuity and Schedule Once. All of them are great. Calendly just happens to be by far my favorite. And then I use the Google Drive to organize and share files. Okay, so if you have a team and you want to share a file or a whole folder with them, you can share that out to your team. Okay. It's a lot like, if you're not familiar with Google Drive, it is an in the cloud version of Microsoft Office. So you have like your Word documents, but it's Google Docs is what it's called. You have surveys and quizzes and questionnaires that you can create within Google Forms. And that's also in the cloud under the Google Drive. And this is one I use all the time, especially if you're a coach or something like that, where somebody's purchasing something from your AttractWell site. I'm going to show you exactly what I do with a Google form to save me a lot of time and effort. And then you can have spreadsheets like Excel. Google Sheets is in the Drive version of that. Okay, so if I'm creating any of this stuff, it's all in the cloud. So if I were to share a Word document, a Google Doc with somebody, and I start working on it and they have the link to it, they're going to see all of my live updates. It's very important because if you have the downloaded version of Word and you make edits on that, and then you email that over to a teammate and they make edits on it, who has the most updated version? And do we even know where it exists and who saved it where? The in the cloud versions of these are so much better. And I'll show you exactly how I use those, okay? So any questions you have, just let me know as we go, okay? And I'm going to, Camilla is talking about serving her team. Yeah, visually and verbally. Okay, so yes, I will 100% be dialing in. If you're a coach and you have your coaching clients that you're working with, if you're a health practitioner and you have your patients, or if you have teams, like if you're in direct sales or you just have an employee team, all of this is going to make sense for all of you, and I'll give you those different examples, okay? Let's get into that exact thing. So examples. So first of all, let's just say that you're a coach or you're selling something on AttractWell, where somebody can actually purchase something from your AttractWell, okay? You can send an automated email through AttractWell, right? Nice and simple. So you don't have to watch this purchase come through and you were sleeping and then you have to wake up in the morning and then, oh, I've got to get this person an email or something like that and send them all the things, right? You can send an automated email, right? And in that email, let's just say I have a consulting client that's starting with me. They could potentially purchase something on my AttractWell landing page or my website page, I should say. And then the email they receive, I say, here are your first 3 steps. Step 1, book a call, book your onboarding call with me. And I put a button in the email, and that button is linked to my Calendly account. Okay, and I'm going to get into Calendly in a little bit, but they get to book their call. Step 2 is fill out this 3-minute questionnaire. Okay, and I'm going to show you an example of a Google form questionnaire. So when my clients are starting with me, they filled out this questionnaire. I know exactly what they're looking to get out of the consulting, what they're most, like where they feel like most challenged, where they shine. So I understand how to help this person the best, right? And then maybe if I have an instruction I need to give them, like, hey, I need you to download Telegram or Voxer, or I need you to add Loom to your browser. That's one of the things I teach. And I used Loom to show people how to use Loom, right? And so that might be a video that I put in there. So I would create a button and I would link it to the Loom link so they can watch the tutorial of how to do something, okay? So that's it. And then sometimes then I use Trello to, not so much task management, I would actually change that. This is more to maybe house files or let's say Trello for, I would say mapping a course. So let's just say I'm working with a client and they want to build a course. I might have them have a Trello board that we share where they're mapping out their course and then I'm giving them feedback along the way, right? So those types of things. And then Google Drive to share files. So my client and myself might share a Google folder and they upload all their pictures. So then I can take that and actually go put that on their website that we're creating, that kind of stuff. So those big files that can't be emailed, okay? So that is just an example, okay? I do see a question coming in. Let me just see if I can answer. When they fill out the questionnaire, does it go into the database? Mark, I'm going to answer that in just a tiny, tiny bit, if that's okay. And when I get to the Google Forms, I will definitely clear that up for you, okay? I love that question, and keep the questions coming, okay? So let me see. Okay, perfect. So that is it, okay? So this is big picture. I'm going to get more granular in just a little tiny bit. So then another example is, let's say you want to build a course within AttractWell. I have, I don't even know, 8 courses within AttractWell now, some self-defense ones, some mindset ones, And then for my business consulting, I have some business consulting online courses. All of it is housed. I record them. A lot of them I record with Loom. And then I put that Loom video into AttractWell. I'll show you how to do that. But you can build a course. And so let's just talk about courses for a second. You might want to do a little mini course as a lead magnet that people have to exchange their name and email for to get your mini course. You can house that in AttractWell. You can have a paid course that you want to create, or an on-demand program kind of thing where there's online courses plus your calendar, like you do one-on-one sessions with them. That's a kind of an on-demand course versus the standalone course, right? So let's say you want a paid course. In AttractWell, you would build the sales page so people can purchase your course. And then once they purchase it, they get the auto email with whatever information is needed, right? You can do a questionnaire if you want. You can do, if you're going to work with them, you can do a calendar link, whatever you need to do in the auto email. And then from there, you could do, let me just think. So if you're building a course, oh, and then you just need the course itself, right? So they'll automatically get added to your course in the vault of AttractWell, right? So the landing page to sell it, once they purchase it, you send the auto email with some of these things, whatever makes sense for you. And then they get auto added to the course. And I'm just sitting here, I build a landing page, I get all that set up, and now I'm sleeping. I sell courses and people are getting access to my courses. They're jumping on my calendar. I'm waking up thinking, oh, it's been a good night's sleep. And holy heck, I sold some courses. They already have access to it, because sometimes people lay in bed at night at midnight and like, I want to buy this, you know, and you don't want to be waiting for somebody to buy your course, right? You want to do as much automated as possible. And that's the beauty of AttractWell and how to work that, right? So another option too is, let's say you're in direct sales and you're taking on a new team member. They're joining as an affiliate for your company. You might want to, anything you repeat on a regular basis, anything you ever repeat. So let's say you take on a new team member and they need to learn how to use the back office. They need to know where the form is, where they can fill out for their EFT so they can get paid. Maybe they want to understand how to get started with social media. Whatever you say, anytime you bring on a new person, you say the exact same things over and over to every new person that comes on. What you could do is use Loom to record one time, hey, this is how the back office works. Hey, this is how you get your payment form. Hey, and you do these different videos. And then you have an onboarding course that you add into AttractWell. One of the biggest things I see is when new clients come. So if you're a coach, when your client comes on board, or if you're in direct sales and you have a new team member or a patient comes on, one of the biggest challenges I hear is they kind of don't know where to go for what, and they feel frustrated from the very start and they don't hit the ground running. And all you can do, they feel very supported when you actually have a video onboarding, right? And that's how it works. So let's just picture a course. Let's picture you have a course for whatever your purposes are, okay? So you have a course within AttractWell. It doesn't just have to be videos or worksheets, right? You could, one of the things I have is I have a self-defense course that's $37, okay? And then I have my self-defense course that's normally $2,000. I have it on sale, but that bigger course, right? So the $37 course, I have my 10 videos in that. The very last video is a bonus tip. And then I have a little button that says, hey, here's your next step. And that button goes over to the landing page for my upsell, my bigger course, right? Another thought to use Calendly is, let's say they're going through the course, any type of course, and maybe whatever you're teaching or coaching on, or your patients or whatever, maybe halfway through you want to do an update questionnaire. Like you want them to fill out like, hey, you've made it halfway, let me know how you're doing. You can put a questionnaire there, right? Or you could do a one-on-one call that's maybe paid. Hey, are you needing extra private support? Are you feeling stuck at anything in this course? You know, for $300, you know, I'll hop on a 90-minute call with you, or whatever your pricing is, right? And so you could have a paid calendar link. So they're going through your course, they click that, they buy the time with you, and they're on your calendar, and you're sleeping or you're relaxing with your family, right? So all this is happening behind the scenes, and you don't have to be manually doing anything with anybody, right? So sometimes I'll sell a course and all of a sudden somebody will pay for some of my private time so I can help guide them where they're stuck. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And it all works so well together. And it's beautiful when with AttractWell. I've worked with a lot of different online course type of systems, and a lot of them do, I will hands down say There's Kajabi, there's Thinkific, there's all those ones out there. AttractWell is the best one for a lot of reasons because it has these extra capabilities, right? So anyway, I digress. That is just a very general gist, right? So for the Trello board, I would map out my course. I would use Loom to record some of the courses, or with my self-defense, I didn't use Loom, right? There was an actual video crew there recording me with professional cameras, but with anything where you're screen sharing, use Loom to record your videos. Then if they need private support, you have Calendly. And then if they need any resources, for example, like if you have worksheets or whatever, you can house those in Google Drive and send them over to Google Drive. I'll talk to you about that in a second, okay? So any updated questions? We're doing good so far? Okay, perfect. All right, let me know if anything is, you have questions as we go, okay? Also, each piece of these can be used independently. So like with Loom, for example, when I'm working with my clients and I'm building one of their landing pages, I help build landing pages within AttractWell because a lot of times you have AttractWell and you're like, oh, I just don't know how to do the copywriting, or I don't know how to do the design or whatever. That's exactly what you can reach out to AttractWell for. And so we will help build landing pages. And so sometimes when we're working with our clients, what we can say is, hey, what are you thinking about this? I've made these updates. How are you feeling? And you send a quick video, like a 2-minute video saying, here's the updates. You send the link. They watch the link and then they do a Loom and say, hey, could you shift this? And, and it's just this visual communication back and forth versus sitting here and trying to type it all in an email and take screenshots. Good luck with that because it takes forever, right? So it's a great communication tool as well as using it to create courses, okay? So I'm just giving you a lot of different ideas and I'm talking quite fast because I want to get this all in, so sorry about that. So again, this is where the tutorials are going to be, and then also you'll have access to the slides, okay? So just so you know, that's I think Julie already put it in the comments for you. Okay, so Loom, let's just talk about Loom for a second. So this is, I've already mentioned it, where you can record your desktop as you speak. You do not need to have your face on. You can just do just a straight screen share, or you could have your face on there. I'm going to open up Loom in a second here. It's not going to allow me. It's going to come up with an error message because my video is already on Zoom. And so when I do this, you'll see an error message. That's just why, okay? So here is Loom in a nutshell. It's so simple. It only works on Chrome, okay? So if you're a Mac person, you can still download Chrome just to do these recordings, okay? There might be an alternative, but Loom is the only one I've found of its kind, and I'll show you why. So do you see this little blue spiky thing up here? Okay, it says free screen recorder and screen capture. Loom is free, but you can only record up to 5 minutes. If you do need anything over 5 minutes, I think it's $10 a month for the subscription. So I'm going to tell you the pricing on all this stuff. None of this is, all of these together is no more than $30. And then you have your AttractWell as a separate software, right? So all of these other supplemental softwares, none of these that I'm showing you will add up to more than $30. So first of all, this little spiky thing, if I click this, so let's say one of my clients says, hey, I really, I don't know how to add this picture to this and blah, 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 something technical or anything like that, right? You just click on this and then all of a sudden Loom is going to pop up. Okay, I'm going to give it the time it needs. So I'm going to move the chat. So that's my photo. It will, if I was allowed to have, you could have your face here. This can drag and drop. So I could be right in the middle talking, and then I could just move this in the middle of recording and then show them something. So whatever you need to do for you, okay? So do you see as I'm talking here, this little blue line is jumping, okay? So I always say, and this is a big mistake I've made in the past, I will record an entire thing and it wasn't picking up my microphone. So I always say test, test, test up front, just to make sure the line is jumping and it's picking up my sound, okay? So all I do is I hit record and choose my desktop. So it's gonna say, what do you wanna share? Right? A tab, a window, or my entire screen. So I'm just going to choose entire screen. And now it's going to give me a countdown. So it's going to say 3, 2, 1. And then I would say something like, hey, we are talking about Loom today. Here's exactly how it works, blah, 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 right? And do the tutorial. All you do is hit stop, and it's going to jump you over to the Loom, your personal Loom library. So everything you've ever recorded in Loom will be here. Okay, so that's going to just take a second to pop up. And the coolest part is you don't have to necessarily download anything. You don't have to do anything. It is literally just copy this link and send it to whoever, okay? So let's say you are a coach, or you want to record some things for your patients, or you're in direct sales, right? Let's say well, let me just give you the best example. one of my clients said, can you teach me how to use Calendly? And so I thought, well, if they're asking that question, somebody else is going to. So instead of me directly talking to that person, I said, instead of me being like, hey, Sharon, this is how we use Calendly and talking to her, I did it as a tutorial. I recorded it one time. So I said, okay, here's how we use Calendly. So I was actually recording that for a client, but now I have that's a very general Calendly training, and I copy the link and I can send it to anybody who's asking the question about Calendly, how it works, right? That's what I put on the landing page for you, is that exact. I recorded that on Loom, saved it, and put it in, okay? Also, one more step is if you want to, this is processing, so this will say download in just a little bit, but I can download the video, upload it into Vimeo, and put that into AttractWell as a course then. Okay, so those are the steps. You could do Vimeo or YouTube if you're creating a course within AttractWell. So don't worry about those granular details. It's just an extra mini step that needs to happen in order to get it into AttractWell, and it is so worth it. So half of my courses in AttractWell, I recorded on Loom, and I had maybe a slideshow or it would just be talking, whatever, and then I download it, I get it into AttractWell, and now it's just a video in my course, and it is that simple. It's really nice. So again, that is only on, Loom is only on Chrome, your Chrome browser. So if you don't have Chrome, just download it just for the purpose of creating your courses, okay? There's other ones called like Screencastify, there's other Screencast-O-Matic, I think, and I can't remember. But Loom happens to be my by far favorite because there's a link copy that I can send over. A lot of them you have to download and then send the downloaded video, and sometimes it's too big to send through email kind of thing. So Loom is my favorite. That's all. I'll digress. So any questions? We're doing good. Okay. So that is Loom. And again, I give you a tutorial on this landing page as to how to add that, how to add Loom. I don't know where it is here. Loom. How to add Loom to your browser. Okay. So that is that. Let's see. Is there any difference between Vimeo or YouTube to upload your videos to? Not really, Karen. It just depends on what you want to use. I prefer Vimeo. All of my online courses, I'll record in Loom. I download it and I upload it to Vimeo because Vimeo is just more simple for my brain to understand. YouTube is just the same, and especially if you're making a paid course, you're going to want to make sure your videos are unlisted or private. Okay, just make sure. And yeah, so that's it. That's a really great question. So some people just prefer one or the other because they're used to it. That's all. Good question. Okay, so moving on, Calendly. I'm just going to give you some ideas on how to use Calendly here. Do any of you use automated or either Calendly or Acuity or Schedule Once? Do any of you have calendars already, automated calendars? And then does anybody not have any? Just so I kind of know exactly what you're looking for here. So Acuity, perfect. So Alicia, everything I'm going to say about Calendly, you can apply to Acuity, okay? So a couple things, not yet. I use Calendly, perfect. And then I use Acuity, perfect. So whatever I'm about to say about a Calendly, just apply it to yours. And if you've never used it, then this is great. This is an intro for you. So a couple things about Calendly. It's obviously meant for automating your calendar. And I have a little tutorial on the landing page as to how to use Calendly. Even if you're using Acuity or anything else, maybe still watch this because it might give you some tips. Okay, you might walk away with some tips. So I'm just going to open up my Calendly here. So again, Calendly is free for 1 or 2 event types. I can't remember, and I'm going to show you what an event type looks like. But let's just say, I'm just going to show you some different creative ways I use it, okay? And then also it comes into my sales process because of the types of questions I'm asking. In like when somebody has to schedule with me or goes to schedule with me, they answer some questions, right? Those questions matter. And there's some beautiful things you can do with those to have everybody feeling like, wow, I feel really taken care of, right? So a couple things is, let's just say somebody wants to hire me to speak, okay? I can go in here and create a speaking inquiry. Well, the questions that I ask in the speaking inquiry are going to be different than like a business discovery call, right? And so on a speaking inquiry, when they ask, let's just look at this real quick. This is very simple. I kept these questions extremely simple, but let's just say they go to my calendar and they schedule a time. And this, what kind of speaking event are you looking for? Virtual, in person, not sure yet. What kind of company, organization? Tell me all of the details about your event. And this just helps me get a little information before I jump on the call, so I can go research their company. I can see what their needs are, what what their business purposes are. And so I can speak to that, right? And it's so much better to have this information ahead of time versus spend the first 30 minutes of a 30-minute call trying to get to know the person, right? Another one is like a discovery call. So let's just say with the discovery call, I'm going to just show you here, I'll do the same thing. So when I'm first meeting a business consulting potential client, right? I want to know as much as I can because again, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want them to waste my time. And we want to make sure that we're a good fit. Plus, this is part of the sales process. And I'm going to just give you a little tip here. So this is me. What kind of business do you run? What are your current sales at? How many clients do you currently have? Where do you want to be? What have you tried already that hasn't worked? Just so I can know. And I am not the cheapest consultant in the world, right? So when I'm having people hop on this call, they understand that I'm serious. This is not one question that says, hey, what would you like to cover on this call? Like, I want to know about their business. I want to go research their business ahead of time because I take my consulting very seriously and they can see that. So this is already not only giving me the information I need to help them and wrap them in love and guide them, but it also lets them, it kind of sets the groundwork like, oh, wow, this is a lot of information and she needs some, she needs business kind of thing, right? So that's one thing too. Another thing too is if I just say, on my calendar link, if I just say something like, yeah, tell me what you would like to cover. The kind of default in Calendly is tell me what you'd like to go over in this meeting. What would you like to focus on? If that's all I did, it's just not enough information for me, first of all. But second of all, can you feel the difference between if I did that maybe, but plus a checklist? And the checklist said, what are all the areas of your business that you're feeling challenged at the moment? And I say, developing your branding, really creating and improving your offer works, and marketing strategy and all this kind of stuff. If I have that list and they can check all that apply, what's happening in their brain? Their brain is saying, wow, I didn't know she did branding. Oh, I didn't know she did this. And it's a pre-sell, but it's also helping us get on the page about what I do, right? So it helps them understand, what does Tiffany Armstrong do as a consultant kind of thing. So think about that in your own business of what information would you like to have ahead of time, and you put that in your calendar link. So by the time you get on the call, it's a really effective, efficient, deeper call because you can dive right in and prepare, right? Before you hop on that call, come and read through the questions and make sure you know what they're needing and make sure that you are the person for them, right? Not everybody's meant to work with everybody, and you can bless and release people when they're not right for you. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to scrounge for every dollar. That's not how business is meant to be run, right? So that is Calendly in a nutshell. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but the nice thing is you just copy the link. So if somebody says, hey, can I hop on a call with you? Or hey, I'm interested in having you speak. I just go, sure. Boop. I copy this and I go send it over. I just send the link to them and then they find a call time on my calendar that works with their calendar, right? Also, like just an example, but I take this speaking inquiry link. I just copy this link and then I go into my AttractWell system. So this is actually, I'll do my front facing. So my own website, that'd be great. But so for example, when somebody, this is a website I built in AttractWell. So when they click hire me to speak, that is my calendar link and it takes them right over and then they can book a call. And I get hired to speak often because I just have that so dialed in and I make it very easy on the person trying to hire me, okay? So these different types of things are, some of this is like my online courses are created obviously within AttractWell, right? So all your different offers can go right there. Beautiful, good, we're doing good. Just want to double check on questions here. Okay, we're doing great. So I'm going to move on. One quick thing about Calendly, let me just point out, is when I come into Calendly to get this set up to start, I do 3 really quick things. I go to my account and I click on account settings and I do all this. I do my profile picture, I upload my logo, make sure my link is what I want it to be, all that kind of stuff, okay? Then I go to calendar connections. And this again is in the tutorial on my landing page I created for you, but you want to, people ask all the time, how does the calendar know if I'm busy or not? So let's say I'm putting a calendar on, like I'm going to dinner with my dad kind of thing. If I put that in my calendar, it will check the system. It'll check for conflicts on all of my different calendars I house. I segment my calendars very strategically. So it'll check, hey, does she have anything at this time? And anytime I put anything in any of my calendars, it will check for conflicts and then it will not come up as an option, okay? And then I want it to add to this one calendar. any stuff that comes through. Okay. So does that make sense? Everybody good with that? I'm going to move on. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So then Google Forms. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about as far as onboarding questionnaires. So let's just say you're a coach, or you have, you're a health practitioner and you have a patient. You want those intake forms right away, right? So if somebody books a call on my site, so let me just show this. So on my business site here, my main point for this whole website is to have people book a call with me. That is my one thing. A lot of websites are used as like information dumps and they just put all the details in. My only goal is to hop on a call so I can have a conversation with them. And then I pull out all the tools in my toolbox that make sense for that person after I ask a lot of questions. That's really what the point of my site is in AttractWell here. So if they do this and then they want to, or if they purchase one of my courses, I send those automatic emails with, hey, so let's say I hop on that discovery call with them and they say, Tiff, I want to work with you. Okay. So then I have them purchase, right? I have them purchase it and then they get the auto email, and the auto email says, here are your initial steps with Tiffany. Step 1, book at least 3 sessions out. Here's her calendar link. Okay, here's my calendar link. Fill out this 3-point questionnaire, this 3-minute questionnaire. So it's just my onboarding questionnaire. So I know exactly what they're looking to accomplish in our consulting together. And then I have a couple other things like here's how you add Loom. I do a Loom showing how to add Loom to their browser so we can communicate as effectively as possible through our consulting time together, right? So just think about that for yourself and how you could potentially apply all these little pieces in your business, okay? And then, so Google Forms, it is just an online form. It's like a survey, a questionnaire kind of thing. So let me just give you an example of one. So when I take on a new client, this is what they get. Let me show you here. Okay, so this is what they get. And they're going to fill out this form. And okay, so these are the questions. You know, what are your 2 biggest challenges? What are your big goals? How would you rate yourself in these different areas of life? And if it's not a 10, what could make it a 10? This gives me so much information, and this is not a long survey, right? This is the whole thing. But one of my favorite questions is, what are the top 3 things you'd like to accomplish in our consulting together? So you would feel like this is a good investment in yourself. So I know if I don't meet these 3 things, I feel like I failed as a consultant, and I want to know what those things are. Because a lot of times those things are left unspoken. Okay, so that's very important for us to just get that information ahead of time. So just think, how can you use these online questionnaires? And then the beautiful part, and I'm just going to show you this, when you click on responses here, you'll see this little green button right there. So all that is if you are, it will auto create a Google spreadsheet for you. Okay, it'll auto create a Google spreadsheet, and anybody who comes in and actually fills out your form, it puts all of their live answers on that spreadsheet for you, the Google sheet. Okay, so you don't have to go into every single person's questionnaire and scroll through. You can open up the one spreadsheet and say, okay, Sharon Smith, right? And these are her answers to the questionnaire. And then you can just always keep track of exactly all the people in one place. And that's the most beautiful part. I love that. I love Google Forms. I love the Google Drive. So just think about how you can be using these online forms. And again, I always email that in my initial steps with working with me kind of thing. Okay, you could do that. You can add a Google form, like I said, halfway through your course if you want to do a check-in. I know some people who use a weekly check-in, and it's like a two question online form. It's a 2-question online form as a weekly check-in because they're going through a whole journey with a coach, for example. And so each week they get texted through AttractWell. They get texted the Google form link and say, hey, this is your weekly check-in. And that's all automated. The texts go out every Monday morning at 8 a.m., for example, right? How was your last week? And so, and then all the coach needs to do is open up the spreadsheet, sort by the person's name, and they can see all the progress of the answers of that one person. Does that make sense? That's a lot of information, and I could always visually show that to you if you have any questions about that, okay? But just know big picture that that's what it's capable of. As far as working out those details about how to make it happen, just let me know if I can support. Julie and Colin know exactly how these things work. Otherwise, a simple YouTube search will show you how to use Google Forms, okay? So, and then again, on my landing page, I do have how to create a Google form, okay? So, moving on from Google Forms is Trello, I just want to show you the general gist of Trello. I use this as my big kind of when I need a visual brain dumping of things. So for example, I'm going to show you here on my social media board. So first of all, if you do have Trello, or if you want to sign up for Trello, it's free. You do not need anything more than a free Trello account, especially when you're starting. But if you do have a free Trello account, on this page, you can click on any of these. These boards are public. I created them as public. So you can open them, copy them, and now they're in your system. Okay, so it's just a nice little present I wanted to give you guys, because why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to, right? So let me just give you an example of how I use this. So this could be a social media planning one. Okay, so this is social media planning. So, you know, sometimes on social media, you share your personal story, so it builds affinity and people get to know, like, and trust you. Sometimes you're doing expert tips, sometimes you're doing testimonials, and then you obviously have your sales post, right? Something that is a call to action of hopping on a call or something. So let's just say I come in here, I open up my Trello, and once a month I do this. I come in here and I, like for my self-defense business, for example, I start just brain dumping. What are all my expert tips? So I sit here and I think, okay, I write 4 right turns. It's just a little trigger for me to remember what it's about. If somebody is following you in a car and you think they're following you, make 4 right turns. And if they're still behind you, that's a problem. That means they are following you, because who makes 4 right turns and ends up right where they were, right? So that is a simple expert tip I could post on. So I come in here and I brain dump all my tips. And then what I do is then I take all those tips, I go into Canva. We're not covering Canva today, but I go into my graphic design thing and I just take one post and I duplicate it, change the words, and now I have maybe 15 posts that I get to put out, and it took me maybe 20 minutes to do. So that's kind of how I use the big picture Trello board to get this visually. I map out all my courses through there. Also, if you have a virtual assistant, for example, you could have a board and you can see somebody else is on this board right here. You could invite somebody else who has Trello. You could invite them to your board, and then your virtual assistant, you can like put the tasks on their list. This is called a list. This whole thing. This is called a card. The thing I'm drag and dropping here, that's called a card. And I do have a very in-depth, nice how to use Trello right here for you in here. So this one is actually 40 minutes. A side note for all you efficient people out there, if you click on here on the settings when you're playing it, you can speed it up. So I listen to everything on double speed unless it's really detailed. But for big picture stuff, you can always speed that up, okay? So that is Trello in a nutshell. You can coordinate with teams, plan social media, do all that kind of stuff. And then I go into AttractWell to do my contact management and keep notes on people and trigger you know, follow-up sequences for people, that kind of stuff, okay? So that's what it's beautiful for. So that is Trello in a nutshell. Again, I show you in this video right here. If you do want to copy any of my boards, this is showing you just a few steps. It's a 2-minute video, okay? So that's that. Then let's move on. Last little piece here is just the Google Drive. So Google Drive is, like we talked about, kind of the in the cloud version of Microsoft Office, right? This is where I create my Google Sheets, my Word doc kind of things, and my Google Forms, okay? It's very simple to get to. You just either, open up Google here. A couple ways to get there is you can click on these 9 dots right here, these Google apps, and you can click there and you can go to the drive right here. Okay, so that's the actual Google Drive. That would take me right into my drive. It's kind of my file system, right? My in the cloud file system. You can also just type in drive.google.com and it will take you there, okay? If I want to create actually here, let me show you this a little differently. Right from my slides, I have this going into a specific place that's easy to explain. Efficiency, right? So the last piece is, like, let's just say these are the folders that I want to use, right? So maybe I house social media content in here. Maybe I have a team and I want to put all my social media posts in there so the team can also use them. Maybe I'm the creator, right? Maybe you want to have your team testimonials there. One thing I do, like I have a file for speaking events, and then within that file, I have every single speaking event has its own folder, okay? And then I put my speaking contract, I put all the photos that we're taking at that, in there. I put any little teaser marketing videos I created for that speaking event in there. So I have everything housed in one place. That's one of my favorite ways to use it. For my individual clients, I actually have, like, if we have any legal docs we need to sign, or they're big, like let's say they did a professional photo shoot and they can't email it over to me, but I need to have those to put on their landing pages in AttractWell. I create a Google folder for that client, we share it, and then they upload their full photo shoot, and now I have access to their high quality photos. Because if you send them through Messenger and Facebook and email, a lot of times they'll pixelate them. Email's a little bit better, but we want the high quality stuff, right? So those are just some really simple ways I do, you know, a lot of different things. So just be creative with how you might use this. And then let's just say you want to share this, you just share this link or grab the link, right? And then you can paste it anywhere that to save it, right? So I might save it in Trello, or I actually, let's say I'm in AttractWell and one of my clients, I have them as a contact in AttractWell. Sometimes what I'll do is grab my client folder, grab the link, and I go paste it in their contact. Right? I open up them as a contact and I save all my stuff. You can upload files there. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. So that's how I use Google Drive in a lot of different ways. And Karen, thank you for all this. You're so welcome. So these are just the simple ways you can just use some of this stuff to free up your time, my friends. This is what it's all about. None of this has to be hard. And like I said, I have all the tutorials so you can go a little bit deeper. You can copy my Trello boards for the ones that make sense for you. But we don't need to have our businesses running us, and we don't need to be stressing the heck out of ourselves trying to keep up, because when we are scattered and when we're overwhelmed, there's no way we're going to be able to take care of our clients or patients or team, right? There's no way we're going to make all the money we want. There's going to be a ceiling over your head, financially speaking, if you don't automate. And that is just the reality, because you cannot scale a business without automating first. That's just how it is. And so that is that. And then a little bonus tip, capture as many testimonials as you can. When people say nice things about you, if somebody sends a messenger, or if they're making a comment on social media about you, screenshot it. And obviously you've got to ask their permission if you can post it, but screenshot it, you know, crop it. And then I add it to my testimonials folder in the Google Drive. So that's exactly how I do it. So anytime I need to be like, oh, I'm going to just put that on my landing pages in AttractWell, or I'm going to put it out as a social media post, or if somebody wants a little bit of a reference, sometimes you can send them a group of testimonials. Okay. So that is a beautiful way to do it. So let me just give you that overview, the big picture again, just because now that you've been introduced to all that, this can be helpful just to see one more time. So for example, if somebody purchases something off your AttractWell page, send the auto email and have a calendar link, a Google form onboarding questionnaire, and then if there's something you need to explain a process, you can record a Loom if that makes sense to do. But all of this is automated, and then you can start using these types of things to, you know, map out things, right? I share, like when I work with my consulting clients, I have a consulting board with them. So I'll use Trello, I'll create a Trello board. I have a master Trello board for my consulting clients. So when I take on a new client, I copy the board, I put their name on it, and I invite them to it. And then we have all of the things right in the same place. I have their branding and I have all that kind of stuff all dialed in. Okay. So that is it in a nutshell. I know I just talked your ear off, so thank you for hanging in here. I know that was like drinking from a fire hose, but it is so powerful to at least know the big picture of this, and then you get to dial in what works for you. And as you know, the AttractWell team is here for you, because I'm not joking. I come across as very techy and I love tech, but they are my tech people. So if you have questions, that's exactly what they're there for. I'm always like, Julie and Colin, how do I do this within the system? So they always are supporting me, and I just love you guys. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys. And Mark, did I answer your question, by the way? Just wanted to make sure. I know we were talking about Google Drive. Perfect. Awesome. Good. Thank you so much, y'all. Appreciate you.
That's great. Thanks, Tiff, for doing that for us today. If anybody else has any other questions, looks like.
Perfect. Tremendous. Wonderful. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, reach out to the AttractWell team. I'm also here for you. So anything we can do to support you guys. And if you, I just say this because a lot of times because my business consultant brain can't shut off. But if you're feeling stuck anywhere in your AttractWell, reach out to this team because they are the ones who helped me just dial in my processes within AttractWell. So I'm just saying this is the best customer service I've ever seen. I'm just talking as if you guys aren't here, but I just love you guys so much. You've helped dial in my businesses so much, and I'm forever grateful. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, Tiff. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us today. And yes, let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you all next week.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Bye.